Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a very long time since I updated. About 4, maybe 5 months ago, I put out a very unsuccessful video, but I have finally gotten myself back motivated to do some painting. So, without further ado, I'm gonna just get into this, because I have quite a few things I've been working on in the last few months. Some of these, however, I will state I painted beforehand. I just haven't gotten around to showing off, and I'll make note of that as I go. And to begin, I'll show off here two figures that, in fact, I did paint a long while back. You might recognize them as the two figures in particular that I used in the dipping tutorial. They would be these two here. I painted them up, used them in that tutorial to show everyone just how it's done with the Minwax dipping technique, and never really got around to showing them off after I had the matte varnish on them. As you can see, the dip picks up all of the details and doesn't really muddy the brighter colors or the more artificial colors. Keeps everything all natural and nice looking. But that's how they turned out. I may do a sequel to the dipping video at some point here. You may note I had listed as part 1. I'm trying to come up with the best way of doing part 2, where it's a further advanced version. But we'll cross that bridge later. Another one here that I showed off in a preview in my posts section a long while back is my observer. Now, this is an observer for Trench Crusade. For the, well, officially it's a mercenary, but he is painted up for my new Antioch force that I was, well, you'll see some of here, but I've been working on. It's part of a demo force in particular that has kind of blossomed into, like I always do, just going nuts and buying the whole faction and just having all the options available to me. He was officially my first Trench Crusade model I painted up. He has a little bit of a misprint, if you see there on where his hand should be, but the rest of him is a perfect print as far as I'm concerned, and I just really like how he turned out. I never wanted to go back and get a new one because, well, he's good enough the way he is. My next one I'm going to show off here, I haven't gotten the tuft down on, but he's my last fly thrall. He's not quite as good, I don't think, dip-wise, as my original fly thralls. It pooled pretty heavily in some of the areas, and he came out very dark, and I experimented with doing a green, I think it's Anthonian or Althonian, camo shade wash over the wings before dipping. I'm kind of okay with how it turned out. Otherwise, he's pretty nice. He finishes off, for now, my Black Grail's thralls for the regular faction. I do have 6 Dirge thralls that I purchased off of eBay that someone has actually converted the STLs so that they're holding firearms. So that's very exciting. They're work in progress currently. The next one I've got here to show off is my Sin Eater. He is specifically painted up just as me playing around with a lot of new options and new details. I had not really done anything with verdigris or patinas before, so I decided to do that on his armor, and I just used a series of different washes and different metallics ranging from dark bronzes all the way through lighter silvers on his armor. I think it's turned out fantastic. On the tabletop, however, my Sin Eater doesn't do squat. It got one-shotted in its first outing, by a stigmatic nun throwing a cross at his face and then coming in and beating it in. But I still love that paint job, and I still take it just because. Now, I was a backer of the Red Brigade Kickstarter that Westphalia Miniatures did, and so my new Antioch here is mostly going to be derived around the Red Brigade figures. This would be the first one I've got completed paint job-wise. He is jokingly referred to within my group as Iron Man, beyond the fact that he did accomplish a pretty unique feat of sneak attacking a herald of Beelzebub and shot him right in the back, one-shotting this herald that had been pretty much sniping from a rooftop. This fine lieutenant just made his way through the building, slowly but surely, popped up through the roof hatch, and shot him once in the back. He's a very nice sculpt. The prints that, I think it was Strange Plastics or whoever it was that printed these, they did a nice job. I'm really happy with all of my Red Brigade figures. I look forward to getting them more on the table in the future. But for some more of the new Antioch, I actually have the classic sculpt for the Sniper Priest and the Ammo Monk. I liked the Ammo Monk sculpt. He's pretty basic, and I stuck with the yellow, what I've kind of dubbed the Rain Slicker. They look like the Dennis Nedry raincoat from Jurassic Park. But this is my Sniper and my Ammo Monk. Now, the thing about the Ammo Monk that I've been learning through different games is they're not all that reliable. So I might not end up using him as often, but it's still nice to have should the need arise. The Sniper Priest, on the other hand, is pretty reliable and pretty handy to have. So I actually have two of them. I have the Red Brigade female sculpt, which I have not begun working on yet, and I have the classic bearded male sculpt. They're a good time. Painted them up very quickly. Surprisingly, they used the exact same color palettes, so I was able to knock them out simultaneously. And moving on here, we have some more stuff for the Red Brigade. Now, they get access to War Dogs, and I really didn't want to spend the money on getting their specific ones. It just wasn't effective and really something I wanted to do at the moment. Partially because I've never used them, and I still have yet, even in my Black Grail where I have the Hellhound, I haven't had any use for it. I take it, it eats up the glory points that are available, and it doesn't accomplish anything. So I'm still on the fence about War Dogs, but in this situation, I grabbed from my War Games Atlantic German Centuries set their dogs, which I don't believe I used any of them off of the sprues, or I might have only used like one of them. But I had 4 left over, and so I just painted them up, threw some sand down on their bases, and gave them a dip wash. They're ready for fighting, and hopefully they accomplish great things. Now, here's where we get into some of the bigger stuff, whether it be quantity or larger items. Every Halloween, I tend to do a 5 Leagues from the Borderlands solo RPG game, where basically I just take out the actual roleplay aspect and play it as kind of a war game using their combat mechanics, which are kind of unique. But this time around, instead of fighting some smaller, pumpkin-headed creatures, I went with the large, I called him the Jacko Leviathan, This is a 3D sculpt. I don't know if there's a particular sculptor that I should credit for this, but I saw it on Etsy. I was looking for pumpkin-headed monsters and saw this. When I ordered it, I knew it was going to be big. This is about a 200 millimeter base, maybe. It's pretty large, very imposing. The fight was very entertaining with him. I wrote up some stats to make it kind of original and a unique fight. He was throwing adventurers around. Sadly, no one rolled the swallow whole. Well, sadly, I kind of am attached to these adventurers, so I probably would have had to retcon it that it was a, holiday event, so it doesn't count towards the main adventure, but that's him. He was fun. I look forward to seeing what I can do with him in the future. And I will be doing a showcase video here eventually. I was going to do it before Halloween, but a lot of things came up before then of all of my 5 Leagues pumpkin creatures to show off what I actually have that I use during those events. Next year is going to be very exciting. It's going to go beyond 5 Leagues, and I'm going to try to run it as a game of Dragon Rampant. So I might be roping in someone else to take part in that one. And speaking of dragons, I have this for Trench Crusade that I just finished a few weeks ago. This is for the Dragon of the No Man's Land scenario. I cannot recall 100%. I believe it's the Mother of Beasts or something like that. This is pretty much what they kind of describe. Like, if you look on the wiki page for what the Dragon of the No Man's Land is supposed to look like, or at least it's assumed, but in the new rules, they do give the arbitrary, like, it could be a tank, it could be a giant larval monster, it could actually be a legitimate dragon, so on and so forth. But it has a ton of eyes that were very tedious, but very worth painting. After I dipped it, I also noticed I missed a few eyes. There, you can probably see on the shoulders and such, there are about 4 eyes that I missed, which I do intend at some point here to go back and remedy my mistakes. But ultimately, I still love this creature. This was a blast to paint. Going up through, I think I started with a Fulgrim purple and just dry brushed it with vampiric flesh from Reaper. When I was all said and done, slathered this thing with dip and re-highlighted the masks, because those masks just have to be shiny and bright. They came out as a kind of a khaki when the dip was applied. But I played the scenario once with the dragon. It turned out it was an okay fight. My opponent and I just basically surrounded the dragon, and so many of us were trying to rodeo the dragon and had it pinned up where it couldn't move. It just sat there, took punches to the face, and half of our armies did not even get engaged. They hadn't even made it across the table by the time we beat the dragon down. The dragon did no damage to the peasants either. All of that was just my opponent and I killing the civilians. Strangely enough, it made no sense lore-wise, except for on my side, because the Black Grail needs thralls, and we're going to get thralls from somewhere. But moving on, another thing that I've worked on recently are objective markers for Trench Crusade. Now, a lot of these are just simple barrels and boxes, but this can double as a field shrine, I think, for New Antioch or Grail Pilgrims or hypothetically anything, honestly. But this is a piece, I think it's supposed to be part of a cemetery set from Reaper Miniatures. but it was pretty cool. I've had it laying around for ages. I was going to go and possibly use it as a dragon's tooth. Maybe buy some others or recast or something and have a bunch of these as dragon's teeth for 40k. But years went on and I never did any of that. But I gathered myself up a bunch of barrels from some old Pegasus Hobbies sets that I had bought years ago. They were resin barrels. Sadly, Pegasus has, as far as I know, shut down, which is unfortunate because they made some of the nicest sandbag terrain pieces, and their river section is still the best plastic river I think I've ever seen. But their barrels were really nice. The wood grain is deeply cut, so when I dipped these, all the dip just went right on in there. The big thing with these right now is almost all of them, well, pretty much all of my objective markers are still very shiny, because as soon as I got these done, the temperatures dropped down into the 30s, and we started getting snow. So I have not had a chance to hit them with matte varnish yet. But hopefully, if we do warm up for even a day, I can get them done. These next objectives, I just have some crates that I ordered off of Etsy. Officially, I've got enough crates and barrels to be able to do the scenario where you have to capture the train and secure supplies and such. And I think, the wood grain's not as good as the Pegasus Hobbies, but I think they're still fantastic. They do the job well. They look really nice. And whoever it was that printed these did a fantastic job. And that sort. I may look up before too long here, look up who it was I may have had printed these. They did an exceptional job. Might as well give credit where credit's due as far as who made them originally and who printed them. So if anyone else wants barrels, crates like this, I should say, you'd be able to head on over to Etsy and have a link directly to those. Now we have 3 objective markers that I wanted to have stuff that wasn't just crates and barrels, because it's kind of boring. I have a 4th one of these type that's actually just been dipped this morning. But to start off, we have the very generic, like Trench Crusade normal bullet shrine. The artillery piece being, kind of revered in this shrine. I've had some candles 3D printed and set down on it in front of it there, which admittedly, hopefully that doesn't fall over and start a fire or nothing. But the next one we have here, again, fire hazards waiting to happen. A stack of books, one open book next to some candles. I wanted to go with something that you could plop down on the table and it would make sense that like a scripture guardian or something would be hunting for these. That painted up very quickly and very easily. I did, as you can see, multiple different colors of books there. You get a dark gray one and some brown, a couple of different shades of brown books. Just a very simple objective piece. And then this one, which astute viewers may recognize as the Ark of the Covenant. This one I had printed and was really, really hopeful it would fit properly on a 40 mil base, and sure enough, it does. Just sticks out a little bit on both sides, but no biggie on that front. The dip went nicely into the grill work and into the different details along the sides of the ark. hilariously enough, in the first game that I played with this, I had one thrall that just charged in as a reinforcement, and he destroyed 2 objectives right off the bat, and one of them, he just sped around right to the Ark of the Covenant. I was just like, no other thrall could dash that game. But sure enough, this little guy was basically Speed Racer that day. He knew what he needed and where he needed to go. But those are the small parts of the work that I've done. I do have some bigger stuff. I have this, which it's a small radio station, and I'm a fan of just having a little piece like this that you never know. It may be like in 40K, you have a scenario that you have to capture a comms array or something like that. Or Trench Crusade, you just want to give the effect that there was at some point a radio tower in the trench complex, and this would work perfectly for it. I believe this was printed by Tabletop Terrain 3D. It's FDM, as you can see by the minor layer lines. Their stuff is always very nice. I have several terrain pieces. I have a whole Chaos set that's based off of Dawn of War that I still need to sit down and actually get some work done on. But their work is very nice, and I am a fan of their prints. The next, going into me continuing my small bunkers, I have these 2 smallish bunkers for Trench Crusade. They are not dipped. I actually used standard, I believe it was Army Painter Quick Shade on them, just watered down and just letting it run. But this is a 3D print. The texture I have on the surface here was actually a, I believe, Krylon textured spray. That's their sandstone spray. I've been using that on the big artillery bunkers that I have those completely sprayed, as far as I can remember. I'm in the process of dry brushing those, but need probably a lot more time. I also want to do interior details on them. But I've got 2 of these. They're identical. You can see on the inside there's nothing special. All the action's on the outside. Normally, these don't even have any bearing on the game. People just walk around them, or just garrison a trooper down inside of them, and nothing happens with that trooper. They'll just sit there for the rest of the game. Moving on from some of the more military aspect, we have civilian buildings that I've been working on. We have some fun things like this little cabin. It's very small if you compare to a standard 28 mil. I like to joke that it's the fishing shack, that you put it next to the river or near the river or a lake or something. This is where, some guy or group of guys go out fishing and they just kind of sleep in the little shack until their trip's over, and then they head home to some of the other houses that I've got in the display here. This is like the next few buildings I'll be showing off. These are actually also Pegasus Hobby. I was able to find some on eBay a while back. I've actually got 3 more left to build. Or rather, finish them up, but also paint. But they are a 1/72nd scale. They're slightly smaller than normal, but I think they still work fantastically. In bolt action, tanks can still receive cover from them. Figures can be garrisoned easily, and they don't take up a huge amount of table space, so that's always good. these next two buildings are pretty much identical. I think they're the exact same sculpt. But they are much larger. Like, they're also 1/72 scaled, but building-wise, they're definitely more of like the house. Someone's house somewhere in Eastern Europe or out in the woods. There's very nice wood grain on these, which when I hit them with the quick shade, they came out fantastic. I added some nice little flowering tufts there. I should probably do that on the other two buildings I just showed off. They were painted much earlier on before I had these tufts, so I'll probably add those just to bring it all together and make it all look like a uniform, maybe lived-in village. Because these are very much not something that you're gonna see on like a Trench Crusade board unless we're going for an overrun Eastern European village that, you know, let's make it look lived in. But yeah, that's those. And to finish up here, I have my largest piece I worked on. This one took me a good while. This was a few, I would say it was probably about a few weeks in the works. I'll actually have to pull the camera out for this one. Even pulling it out that far does not fully encompass the tower properly. I have this. It's a, as you can see, a ruined tower. I wanted to go with as realistic of an effect of stone and like overgrown moss and ivies. So I ordered all sorts of these different tufts and just fake plants and fake ivies and vines that I could off of Amazon. And yeah, the camera's having trouble focusing on it. It's yeah, it's having issues. It's probably too big for it to focus properly along with some of the other stuff here, but I think it turned out really, really well. And it's very durable by most standards. It's a nice solid FDM 3D print, I believe also by Tabletop Terrain. But it's been a while since I bought this, and I still have a large square one that I need to work on. I just have not had much of the time to do that as well. But that wraps up my update video, or as I was jokingly thinking about this as my proof of life video, that yes, Command Bunker is still alive. The bunker is still churning out things to show off and to work on, but I've mostly been focusing myself on just my work and getting things done in my personal life. Try to get all of that squared around and then let my hobby take over from there. But it's kind of hard to zoom out here to show off everything, but I might just include the thumbnail as a post on my blog, or on my comments section, just so everyone can see things in a much more broad and complete way. But anyway, I'm rambling here, so I will sign off at this point. Hopefully my next update will not be, it won't be 4 months from now, hopefully a little bit sooner. I do have a couple of things that are right now work in progress, and I really should do a update showing off the pumpkins, but I'll get to that here very soon. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Sorry about the jiggling. I'm a little out of practice with running the camera here, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good Christmas, and if I don't see you before New Year's, Happy New Year.